mean, actually, we should talk about like, I guess how I kind of shifted into children's books, like after being someone who always saw herself as being an adult reader, adult agent. It's
Yes,
definitely
that's great.
it's definitely in children's books that I think we can see all these kind of previous like prejudices and like categories sort of breaking down, at least in the US and UK. Um, and yeah, I got into children's books basically through my writers. Like I never thought it would be my area. There is such a kind of or I always perceived there to be such a kind of division between the people who work in adult publishing and the people who work in children's publishing, or the it's a different network. It's you're submitting to different editors, and it has been a learning curve for me. I don't have kids of my own, and yeah, I just sort of thought it was never going to be something that I would get into. But I'm really glad that I mean, basically, thanks to Jack Chang writing See You in the Cosmos, which he initially didn't know he was writing a middle grade book or a book for kids. He just wrote the book that he wanted to write. But and when I first read that manuscript, I think I initially did show it to a couple adult fiction editors, but I did just have a sense that this book feels different from well, it was different from anything I'd ever worked on or read before. And then it ended up working really well as a middle grade novel. And that showed me that, oh, I guess I can do this after all, or I have it's been work that I've had to do to like get to know about middle grade, young adult, the market, the people. There's still a lot more reading in that area that I want to do and am doing, but it's been such a joy to kind of enter it like through the writers and the projects that that I've worked on over the past few years. And each time it sort of pushes, like, I don't know, the boundary further than I thought, because I was like, okay, no, I want to do more middle grade, and I've got the basis to keep building upon that. But then but then I thought,
See You in the Cosmos won the SCBWI Golden Title just right out of the strong start.
Yeah.
You immediately fall in love with middle grade after an experience like that, right?
Yeah. And Jack has too. I mean, he's working on his next middle grade novel, and he's really kind of found a kind of community of writers, not only of middle grade, but writers for young readers. And so, and then because of that, like, I had the confidence to reach out to Zainab Mian, British Muslim writer, real trailblazer, with, I mean, she'd been writing and even illustrating her own books and self-publishing. Like she'd started self-publishing two companies in the UK when she was a biology teacher but had two young sons at that time, and was frustrated, as many people are and should be, that there weren't any books that featured like characters that looked like her kids or her. And so she started writing them and publishing them herself. And then I found her when she actually won this great prize. It's a pretty recent prize in the UK called the Little Rebels Prize. But she it was actually when she was on the short list for that. That was the first time I saw her name, but it was kind of amazing because she was on a short list of, like, Malala was on that same short list, and these other like kind of well-known British children's book writers who were all published by major publishers. And then there was Zainab Mian with her self-published book that was then called The Muslims. But yeah, I'm so glad that I reached out to her at that moment, and we connected really well. And then her book, The Muslims, has grown into what's now a 5-book series called Planet Omar, published by Hodder and the Hachette Children's Group in the UK, and Putnam Children's in the US. And that's doing well in like Dutch and German and Italian. And so yeah, having these projects that just kind of spoke to me, and these writers, yeah, they're the ones who kind of guided me into this world of children's publishing. And then I always felt like, okay, well, I can see what, like, how middle grade, or like basically books that are sort of similar to novels but for young readers, are speaking to me. But I can't believe there's no way I'm ever going to do a picture book. and then because that is so different still from middle grade and YA publishing, and the people are also very different. But then this project actually came up right at the start of the pandemic, which was, it was just published in March of this year, called Lou Jane Dreams of Sunflowers. And it's a gorgeous picture book that shares not so much the biography. I mean, it's a really fascinating project because and I think this is one reason that I was immediately so captivated by it, is because I like books that just kind of push the definitions of what kind of book it is, or like, and so this book is this special kind of way of sharing a real life human rights defender like Shiro's story, but through basically a fantasy kind of fable story that's very imaginative, and is sort of inspired by imagining what the real Lou Jane Halfluel was like as a young girl before she became an activist. She was one of the leaders of ending the ban against women driving in Saudi Arabia, and also the male guardianship system. And she was one of these activists that was punished most severely for just her activism. And it's because her siblings all live outside of Saudi Arabia, they've been able to speak out about what has happened to her and also other Saudi activists. And it's her younger sister who's the co-writer of this book, with the woman who really built the international campaign to free the Saudi women who were imprisoned even after MBS lifted the driving ban. He then put the women who'd been kind of campaigning for that, in prison, and took credit himself for having done this thing. And so it's just, it's been really an incredible experience, like shepherding a book like this into the children's book world. I think it's possibly the first, and it is inspired by like Malala's Magic Pencil, I think is maybe the only other sort of close example, but it's still to share the story like for such young readers of a real life human rights defender whose case was actually, I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty. I mean, she was in prison during the whole time that the book was being written and kind of presented to publishers. And we're so grateful that I think we found the perfect publisher, which was Maria Russo of Mine Edition, part of Astra Books for Young Readers. And then they matched it with Rebecca Green as the illustrator, who actually had been friends with, or she still is friends with one of the co-writers, with Uma Mishra Newbury, the co-writer. So I'm not sure I want to do a lot more with picture books, although because it's such a different area, but now because of this one, I definitely do want to and will keep doing more with picture books, because how could I stop when I've met such wonderful people through this, and it's been such a really impactful experience. So yeah, I guess the lesson is never say never.